and welcome back to another video on my channel. Before we get into today's video, I do just want to say Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate it. I hope that if you did celebrate Christmas this year, you had a fantastic Christmas. I also just want to talk about the fact that a lot of people have been emailing me and messaging me asking why I haven't uploaded or saying that they were expecting an upload. I think it's safe to say that I've completely hucked out my upload schedule. I haven't been doing great. I'm going to try and get into some kind of schedule, but for now, just expect me to upload whenever I do. Don't have any kind of pre-expectations because clearly I cannot stick to it. Another thing that I want to mention is where I live has gone into a second lockdown, which does mean that I'll probably be more consistent with content for right now because it does give me a lot more time to create content. However, that does not change the fact that it absolutely sucks. Again, this is the second lockdown that we've gone into, and I know this is kind of controversial, but in my personal opinion, if the first lockdown did not work and the government is saying that this is as severe as they say it is, why would we go into a second lockdown? Like, it didn't work the first time, so what makes you think that it is going to work the second time? I know that a lot of people don't even think that that is the point, or they think that, you know, I'm completely wrong. Don't come for me. That's obviously just my own personal opinion. I guess I didn't even really need to share that in this video. But anyways, with that all being said, today's video is going to be a shorter one, but I did want to upload because I figured some of you might also be in lockdown and you might be looking for something new to watch. So with that all being said, let's get right into today's video. Like I already mentioned, I think today's video might be a tad bit shorter. However, I do hope that it still comes out to be a good length because I think that this topic is extremely interesting. Although I couldn't find as much information as I would have liked to on this specific topic. It is also a topic that one of you guys had requested that I looked into, so of course I really wanted to make a video out of this and share it with you guys, so that is what I'm going to be doing today. Today we're going to be talking about a specific group of entities known as the Dark Watchers of California. They are also sometimes known as the Shadow People of California, which does kind of go in line with the other shadow people that we've talked about on this channel, but they are not said to be related. These entities are pretty much known for doing exactly what they are called. They're usually seen in Santa Lucia mountain range, and they're usually seen standing on top of these mountains in that mountain range, watching the travelers who walk along the paths through this specific area. What really freaked me out about the description of these specific creatures is that they are described as being extremely tall. So tall, actually, that they are even said to appear like giants. They are said to be completely featureless. Sometimes they are seen walking with, you know, like a walking stick. They are usually extremely dark, sometimes seen wearing a top hat, and overall they are pretty shadowy again and don't have any features like the other shadow people that we've talked about on this channel before. These large, dark silhouettes are usually seen between the hours of twilight and dawn, and it is said that those people who have risked and the after effects, I guess, of going up to these dark creatures haven't even seen the creature's features. It is said that nobody has ever seen the features of this creature. Nobody can get close enough to actually even see if these creatures have any features, which is why they are described as featureless. It is also said that those people who have approached these entities, as soon as they start walking towards the entity in that direction, the entity then just completely vanishes. Something that I feel like is pretty important to discuss before we move too deeply on into this video is the striking similarities between the Dark Watchers of California and your just average shadow people. Now, not a lot of people online compare these two. I haven't really seen too much of it, although it definitely does pop up now and then. But to me, as soon as I started looking into these entities, that was immediately what crossed my mind. This just, to me, in my personal opinion, seems like some kind of hotspot for maybe one specific shadow people or a certain type of shadow people. The brimmed hat, the size of these entities, the way that nobody really gets a good look at them, how they're kind of just seen in your peripheral vision, all definitely line up with your average shadow people that we have talked about before on this channel. So I definitely think that the two could very well be connected. Those who have witnessed these Dark Watchers of California say that these very ominous entities are usually seen standing on the mountaintops, just ominously watching the travelers who are traveling in the areas below them. It is also often said that these creatures are often spotted just ominously looking out at the ocean, and it does appear that after people have spotted these creatures, it doesn't really seem as if they care too much. They don't really move or change with their position or try and run away. That only changes when the people get too close to them and then they just immediately seem to vanish, which does kind of seem a little bit striking because a lot of other creatures like this do try to run off so that they are not seen or things like that, but these creatures don't appear to really care too much whether they are being seen or not, as long as the person who is seeing them is not close enough to get a good look. Another thing that was reoccurring that I kept coming across while researching for today's video is that a lot of people like to compare the Dark Watchers to that of Slender Man. Now, I know that most of you probably know who Slender Man is, and for those of you who may just roughly know about Slender Man, he is a completely fictional character that comes from a creepypasta, whereas the Dark Watchers of California are said to be very real and people have witnessed them, whereas again, Slender Man is not said to be real. But the reason that the comparison is done so often is because the Dark Watchers are said to be extremely tall, which Slender Man is also said to be extremely tall, and Slender Man is said to have no features, whereas the Dark Watchers are also said to have no distinctive features. However, I do think that the reason that the Dark Watchers are not described as having any distinctive features is because, again, nobody gets close enough to these entities to be able to see if they do have any distinctive features. So maybe they do and people just haven't picked up on them because they're in such a far range that they can't get a good look. After these creatures have been seen, it is also said that they leave absolutely no evidence behind that they were ever there. No footprints, no smell, absolutely nothing. It is as if these creatures were never there and that it was just some kind of sick figment of your imagination. Now, I thought that these Dark Watchers might be a fairly new thing considering the lack of information that I was able to find on them on the internet. However, after digging deep into my research, I found that sightings of these entities have been seen in California for thousands of years. So far back that the Watchers have in the past been attributed to the Cherishuma people. Now, if you are like me, who may not know who the Shimashuma, I'm not even thinking I'm saying that correctly, people are, they are Native American people who historically inhabited Central and Southern California. Now, I'm really not sure as to why so many people attribute the Watchers to these people, because there isn't really anything found about them in their history or their folklore. However, the Spanish settlers do have documented things about the Dark Watchers in their history. It is said that they are actually the ones who gave the Dark Watchers their name, and they were the first people to ever historically document these entities. And in the first sightings, these beings and creatures were known as, and please excuse my pronunciation, obviously I don't speak Spanish, as the Los Vigilantes Oscuros, which basically translates to the Dark Watchers. Now let's talk a little bit about where exactly the stories of the Dark Watchers came from. Now obviously they are said to come from the Spanish settlers and these other native people that lived in that area, but the first kind of stories that really brought attention to this topic and surfaced were by a man by the name of John Steinbeck. He wrote a short story about the Dark Watchers. There was also a poem written about the Dark Watchers by a man named Robinson Jeffers, and there are several stories about the Dark Watchers in folklore that generates from that general area where these creatures are more likely seen. I did previously mention several times there is not too much information about this specific topic that I could find online, and I did do a lot of digging, but no matter how much digging I did, there just wasn't that much information. I'm going to refer to these creatures as cryptids, and usually when I do these kinds of videos about creatures like this, I like to share stories of encounters that people have had with these beings or entities or cryptids or whatever it may be. However, in this specific topic, I wasn't really able to find much, but I have found some general things that usually happen when people encounter these entities, and so I'm going to share some of those with you guys just to kind of verify, you know, if you ever run into these entities, I guess, if you live in California or you're visiting them. So according to some of the Dark Watcher legends, or whatever they would be referred to as, while I was researching for this video, I did find that there are some requirements that you have to kind of reach before you can see the Dark Watchers. They only appear to certain people and they don't appear to other people who are doing certain things. So I definitely think that that could attribute to the reason that maybe not a lot of people have witnessed these specific entities. The Dark Watchers apparently never appear to those who have guns on them while hiking, which I think that one makes sense. But another one that did not make absolutely any sense to me was that it is said that the Dark Watchers do not appear to people who are wearing waterproof clothing. So if you're going hiking in this area hoping to see a Dark Watcher, it would probably be in your best interest to leave your guns and your waterproof clothing at home. So again, there wasn't very many encounters that I came across online of people who have encountered these creatures. However, there was a few, and they do all seem to be vaguely the exact same, with a person usually hiking alone in this specific area between the hours of twilight and dawn when they feel somebody watching them. They turn to see who is watching them, they see one of these creatures in their peripheral vision, and they turn to get a better look, and when they do that, when they turn to get a better look, that is when they notice that the being or entity has completely vanished. One specific story that I kept seeing resurface all over the internet about the Dark Watchers took place in the 1960s. This took place when a middle-aged man was hiking through the mountain ranges of California in that specific area completely alone when he saw a Dark Watcher. He saw this creature in his peripheral vision, and when he turned to get a better look at it, the creature was completely gone. Again, this encounter is extremely vague. It sounds exactly like every other encounter that I came across on the internet of people claiming to have seen these entities or come into contact with these entities, and there isn't really too many details about what exactly the Dark Watcher looked like or what the experience left the person feeling or anything like that. Now let's talk about some of the explanations that people have come up with for what exactly the Dark Watchers are. And the most common explanation that I came across online was that a lot of people do believe that the Dark Watchers are just some kind of hallucination that the people who have claimed to see them are having while going and hiking through these mountain ranges. People who have researched the Dark Watchers believe that it is possible that the people who are claiming to have witnessed this somehow hallucinated these beings after being out in the wilderness for an extended period of time, feeling isolated and then tired, and a combination of all of these things had somehow created these people this illusion, this hallucination, where they see what they think is a person, but by the time they turn to get a good look at this person, the hallucination has disappeared. Obviously, with the combination of feeling exhausted, possibly thirsty, maybe hungry, all of these things, and being isolated in the wilderness, it isn't completely unheard of that you could hallucinate. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the case, because not all of these people were out there hiking for hours and hours or days on end. Some of them were, just going for a nighttime hike or a morning hike when they seen these creatures. So I don't think that that explains every single one, but some of them could definitely obviously be hallucinations. Others have said that these hallucinations, or these possible hallucinations, could be blamed on infrasound. This is said to be a low-frequency sound that is said to cause an extreme feeling of fear for those who have heard it. It is also said that there is something along with this that causes the optical illusion of a dark shadow casted on either clouds or, like clumps of fog or something along those lines. Now again, like I have mentioned in a bunch of these videos, I am absolutely terrible at science, so I don't completely understand this theory in itself. However, I do hope that that gives you kind of like a gist of what exactly people believe this hallucination could be caused by. Another theory that popped up frequently while researching this case, and I'm sure you guys saw this one coming, is that the Dark Watchers of California are just some kind of clump of shadow people. Now, I am more inclined to believe this theory because I do in fact believe in shadow people, and I do think that people see shadow people more frequently than they are willing to admit. And with all the similarities between shadow people and the Dark Watchers, I do think that this theory kind of makes sense. Again, the shadow people and the Dark Watchers of California have a lot of striking similarities. Both of them appear to be just this dark figure. Both of them are said to not have any distinctive features, and both are kind of just caught really quickly in your peripheral vision. Some other people believe that the Dark Watchers of California are some kind of form of the Grim Reaper. However, obviously there is no evidence to back up this theory or really even any of the other theories that I have talked about in today's video. A lot of the locals in the area who have had encounters with the Dark Watchers believe that because the encounters with these creatures are never violent or anything like that, some of them believe that these are some kind of good sign and that these spirits are good and they are a sign of wealth and happiness and things like that, whereas many of the other people who have encountered these beings do not know what they are, but they do believe that this is some kind of dark and evil omen. But guys, that is really all that I have for you in today's video. I do just have to apologize because midway through filming this video, apparently a million people showed up in my house. So if you can hear something crazy in the background in the middle of this video, I do apologize for that. But anyways, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!